work team. And just to make sure we keep it in time, we have our final presentation with Betscoin. We have Betsy, Christian F, as well as Crouton, guest appearance.
Hello. I've never shared a screen while presenting in a Zoom, and I have a slide thing. Hi guys, I'm Betsy. I'm gonna try and present and not make it weird. Alrighty. How's it looking? Can you guys see it?
Loading.
Okay, but you see what I see? Okay, cool. Okay, this is interesting because what I was afraid of, I can't see my notes, but fuck it, we'll do it live. Hey guys, thanks for sticking around for your headliner, Betscoin. Yeah, that's just the name of our startup. Once I find out what Bitcoin is and how that works, I'll have the business model for Betscoin. But our first product is called Mrs. Doubthire. So first I'll introduce you to the team. It started off as just me for most of the time. I'm Betsy, I'm a software engineer too here. But I'm actually 20% on the ML team right now, and I'm transitioning to the ML team. And I'm also a stand-up comic, so feel free to turn on your mics if you're in a quiet place and you wanna laugh along with me, because this is very scary, even though I love doing stand-up, and I live for the applause.
Woo.
Yes, thank you. Wow, great team. Yeah, and so then my secret little magic pill came in sort of in the last minute, which was all day yesterday, Christian saving me emotionally and pairing wise and literally with coding stuff. So thank you so much to my team. And yeah, so the motivations about this Hack Day project, I'll tell you, there's a few separate parts to it. Kind of the whole thing is the hackathon is more this performance art that I'm doing for you now, but they're this presentation is it. But there's a few parts. There's an actual ML model that worked very well and very hilariously. And it's also more about the bigger picture topics that I want to tell you about, like a kind of a talk. So a brain dump of other interesting and relevant CS and machine learning topics. It's technically no code. I wanted to, just a note for the judges, it's technically no code because there's nothing in the monolith, even though there is code in the ML model, and it is rife with core values if you just, look closely. So when I first started to think about, I knew I wanted to do something with ML. And when I first started to think about cool things that could improve the hired platform, I thought about the secretary problem. Does anyone show of just say something if you know what it is, so I know how many people, or wave or something. Does anyone? No one knows. Okay, great. So it's a mathematical formulation of a certain type of problem. It goes back to the 1600s. Kepler used this formula to find a wife and to find a secretary. That's why it's called the marriage and the secretary problem. So a secretary problem is any kind of situation where you have a queue of candidates and you need to say yes or no to them as they come along, and before you could see the next one, think swiping in Tinder, and you can't go back and you can't change your mind. So that's kind of similar to dating, and that's pretty similar to hiring, because it's hard to interview at many places, and when you start the interviews you kind of gotta stay alive. You'll get the offer, you can't make them wait. So there is an actual calculated formula for optimizing how to do this most efficiently. You decide the number of candidates that you're willing to interview overall, and then you interview the first 30% of that number. Sorry, next slide. Then you interview the first 30%. It's about 30%, it's 31% of that number. So let's say you're willing to date 10 people before you get married, date 3 people. And then the first person and then keep dating people. And the first person that comes along that's better than 90% of that first 30% set, the first person that's better than 90% of them is the one you should marry or hire. So I think that a lot of us do this subconsciously if we're good at making decisions. If we don't spend all night choosing a Netflix movie, like we should just like, go with, this is a good way to find the person that's like right for you without wasting your whole life. And so if we're smart, we do this. So I thought that this would be something that is perfect for hire. Imagine if we had two, either they could be fake candidates or real candidates. Like we had a few real candidates that actually gave you an accurate representation of the people that you could reasonably get. And then we show you someone who's really good for you. So you're like, you actually appreciate them. So that's how I started. But then I thought, why stop there? Like, why stop at giving them an accurate depiction of who they could get? Why not just stack the deck for the best candidate by showing them terrible candidates? I was thinking of the movie Mrs. Doubtfire, where before he applies for the job with his ex-wife, he calls in and pretends to be a bunch of fake candidates to make himself as Mrs. Doubtfire look really good in one of my favorite scenes, even though it has since been canceled. Sorry, I'm a hacker, but I'm also a hack. So I do some outdated, pretty fucked up jokes. Anyway, so I thought this will be funny. Let's generate some bad profiles with deep learning. And then shout out to Tim and Horace helping me try to pull that data in our really fun office hours hangs. Again, sub judges, love you guys. And so I started to pull data thanks to Tim, and I got a little sad because I was pulling data that represented bad candidates, people that had been on the platform, had their profile seen a lot, and had gotten no IVRs. I got a little bummed out because it seemed like there was an overrepresentation of women there. And I didn't confirm that, but I was like, this would, just grind my gears. And it did remind me of, everything that I've learned about bias in ML and coded bias over the years, or algorithmic bias. So now I'll just tell you a little bit about bias. Machine learning bias, also sometimes called algorithm bias or AI bias, is a phenomenon that occurs when an algorithm produces results that are systemically prejudiced due to erroneous assumptions in the machine learning process. There's a lot of implications and factors there that are both, mathematically and philosophically complex. And I'll explain it a little more later. But the gist is, to me, it's that, AIs and that use deep learning reflect the data sets. The data sets reflect the ecosystem that leads to that data set, AKA the world we live in, AKA the problems with it, like systemic racism, sexism, ableism, homophobia, what have you. And so I thought maybe just because I had a hunch that they would have a specific look, I thought, let's just see what an AI that's generative would think software engineers look like based on Hired's database of software engineer profiles and pictures. That became the new goal. So I knew I wanted to, I kind of already was really excited about GANs. GANs are a type of deep learning model. It's a generative model, meaning it doesn't just decide if something is a certain category or if something is real or fake. It's gonna generate new novel data, fake data points, basically, from being trained on real data points. And so basically it's called, there's two, it works by there being, now I'll switch to the next slide. This is my notes from when I was studying them to try to explain it. So, so the way it works is basically there's one network that is trying to get better at telling real from fake, and one network that is getting better at generating fake, and they're training each other. It's sort of like how if you are, I can't think of an example on the fly. It makes a lot of sense when you think about it. And so basically I decided I'm not going to spend time explaining the math because the ethics stuff is more interesting, and I don't think I'm going to be able to do the math justice anyway. So skipping that. Anyway, so I decided to use this famous PhD GAN breakthrough paper style GAN 2. These are fake people. Do you guys see these guys? They're not real. Isn't that creepy? We love it. And so before I even went through the hassle of trying to pull Hired's profile pictures of software engineers, I wanted to practice on other data sets that were already accessible to me. So my first one I did was on a set of fashion runway pictures that actually my friend made, who's just like a fashion psycho, and like thought that this would be cool to see generated. She made this all by hand. Anyway, so these are real pictures of runway stuff. And these are the fake ones. So I got a GAN, I used the style GAN, took a lot of work to like kind of get it running and working with data sets in general, just to understand how to use it. So that was much of the hack day. And I did that part with these test models, with these test data sets. So these are fake fashion pictures, which I think is really cool and really beautiful. These are Nike. So then I also did on a database of Nikes. Believe it or not, these are fake Nikes. Aren't they so sick? I want these. They look, some of these are like shockingly awesome and real looking. So I said, I can't wait to try it. I just can't wait to try it on my people. You know, the hired software engineers. I thought, wow, we're having such great results on these fashion pictures and these Nikes. This GAN makes some really beautiful creations. Can't wait to see what the software engineers are going to look like. Are you guys ready? It's
Yes.
great.
Yeah. Show us.
Ooh. Ooh. Wow, stunning. Introducing Betsy's boys, as I call them. The tech team of the future. Guys, this isn't a screenshot of my daily stand-up Zoom grid view. This is the results of a GAN. These are fake, obviously, but I think it's so crazy and fascinating. So there's a reason, you know, you might wonder why. Why do they look like this? The runway came out and the Nike stuff came out so beautiful. Why do Betsy's boys look so fucked up? Mother Nature is cruel. Just kidding. There's data irregularities. If you look at, this is the data set that went into the model for the software engineers. So they're, you know, the pictures that were saved were different sizes, different formats, and they're not just their own faces close up, which like that original GAN that I showed you was like trained on faces that are all like similarly framed. And so it makes sense that there's some weirdness in mine because, oh yeah, if you compare this, so these are, sorry, throughout this slideshow, I should have said, when I have a border around it that's gray, that means it's real. When there's a border around it that's red, it means it's fake. So these are the real data set of the fashion pictures. So you can see they're very right, they're very uniform. And I think that it's interesting that, yeah, there's still something really significant about the fake results.
Just a quick time check, 1 more minute.
1 more minute, okay. Something stands out. So these are the real pictures on the, okay, the data set includes certain types of underrepresented people, women and Black people, but the fakes do not. So that's disturbing. And I think it's crazy because, you know, like these people look wonky, but it's still picked up on humanoid substance of each person. And you could still tell that there's a trend to it. And there is a reason why this happens. So I didn't know a better way to do this. So I'm just going to play the clip for you. This is from a movie called Coded Bias that just came out. It's on Netflix. Okay. Oh, I got to turn it on. Sorry. Uh-oh, she fucked up.
Engineers decided that they were going to use AI to sort through resumes for hiring. Amazon is learning a tough lesson about artificial intelligence. The company has now abandoned an AI recruiting tool after discovering that the program was biased against women. This model rejected all resumes from women. Anybody who had a women's college on their resume, anybody who had a sport like women's water polo, was rejected by the model. There are very, very few women working in powerful tech jobs at Amazon, the same way that there are very few women working in powerful tech jobs anywhere. The machine was simply replicating the world as it exists. And they're not making decisions that are ethical. They're only making decisions that are mathematical. If we use machine learning models to replicate the world as it is today, we're not actually going to make social progress.
Yeah, so as you could see, at a certain point, it doesn't really even make sense for a generator who's trying to fool a discriminator to attempt a woman, because that would already be a red flag that's rare. And so that's just like one, this is a certain type of neural network or AI, but I really encourage everyone to watch that whole movie Coded Bias and to learn about Joy Buolamwini, who's my personal hero, who the movie is about her and the work and its ripples. And yeah, so there's a reason why the system of AI will always like kind of perpetuate what's there unless there's another intervention. So I'm just telling this to everyone because we are in such a great position to have such a huge, amazing impact on the world, because we are like in the hiring funnel. Like I'm gonna like cry. It's really gives me the chills, and I'm really excited about joining the ML team. Thank you guys. Oh wait, sorry. And now the thank you of my demo. Thank you to oh yeah. So also I was gonna say I had a little joke. Guess the name. The early name Mrs. Doubthired ended up being pretty fitting after all. And thank you to my teammate Christian, who finally agreed to let me put his name down as a teammate once he like decided it was definitely gonna be good. Just kidding, he was always down. That's just an inside joke. And also to Chetan, who helped me so much with the downloading of the pictures and writing curl, and with John H. from ML for brainstorming, and Tim and Horace for looker help, and Nico for being encouraging of my desire to switch to ML. He's on paternity leave right now. Wait, I just realized I had my headphones plugged in and I wasn't listening. I hope you guys didn't say anything. Did you? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll leave 1 minute. Are there any questions from anyone in the audience?
I need a follow-up session. I want to hear more from you, Betsy.
I would like to make it like I would love to expand it to a talk if anyone is interested. I also in my I'll share my slides. It has embarrassing notes, but whatever. But further in my slides, I put some resources down, and one of them is actually also a talk I gave about. Sorry, I put further resources down. My fucking thing won't click ahead, but there's another talk I did about the power law that I did at Vettery that some of you guys saw. And this stuff all connects to that too. Basically the rich will always, this is going to lead to like, like the wealth distribution goes like that. It's mathematically like inevitable unless there's a top-down intervention, and like DL stuff unchecked, I think will only contribute to that.
Erica, did you have a question? I saw you raise your hand. Okay, cool. Alrighty, well, thank you. Of course, feel free to follow up with any of the individuals on any of the teams if you have more questions. We're going to break now for about 25 minutes, 27 minutes, and meet with the judges, and we'll reconvene in a different Zoom link. See your calendar for that one, for the award ceremony. Thank you, everyone, and see you soon.
Horace, who should we share the slides with?
Feel free to share with me, and then I'll send out a note to the hackathon planning channel too, or the hackathon spring channel.